The investing bros. Good afternoon, good evening, or good morning, wherever you are listening from in your timeline. We got a lot to talk about today, guys, but Cardano is going to be one of the big topics, as the title suggests. We did have an interview yesterday, not us, but Charles Hoskinson went live, dealing with some FUD that has been out there about Cardano and what the future of it looks like. And I'm telling you right now, guys, not only from that interview did that make me excited about the future price of Cardano, but there's some stuff still on the charts that I absolutely 100% believe that Cardano will be blowing some people away in this next bull market. Make sure you don't go anywhere so you hear all about that. We're also going to be talking about Bitcoin. And of course, today we had those job numbers come out that should have sent prices to the downside, but they didn't. We're going to cover why that might be. And, it's Friday, so we're going to have some fun. We're going to have some fun conversation. We're going to send you guys off into the weekend with a smile on your face. So go ahead and smash that like button. And if you are new here, please consider hitting that subscribe button as well. We are quickly growing, but we want your help, need your help getting us over 5,000 subscribers, hopefully very, very soon within the next month or two, but you got to smash subscribe. I am joined by T Shroom today. T Shroom, how are we feeling? How's life down there in Florida, my man?
It's better than we deserve, than the Floridians deserve. That's what I'll say.
What do Floridians deserve?
High
housing costs, for sure.
Yeah. Car insurance has gone up quite a bit.
Yeah.
Yeah. I pay by the 6-month chunk, and it went from like $460 to $577. It's crazy.
Okay.
It's a big increase. So
that'll do.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, T Shroom, let's start this sucker off. You got a quote of the day for us today?
Oh, but of course, Tim. How much more grievous are the consequences of anger than the causes of it?
Are the consequences of anger? That's good. That one makes you think there. Marcus Aurelius has a way of making you have to think about what he said. Yeah. But yeah, so I mean, pretty much there, like, how many people do not realize the damage they're doing when they're responding in what they think is a righteous anger, but in reality then has consequences afterwards? That kind of goes back to something we talked about a couple of weeks ago, this concept of an eye for an eye and a tooth for a tooth. Well, if that were the case, then the whole world is going to go blind and toothless. And sometimes you just got to be the one to walk away, put your hands up, make peace, walk away. Marcus Aurelius, of course, a man who had to sometimes fight. So it's not like we're talking about a guy who avoided fights. He just knew there's also times to walk away. Good quote, T-Shroom. I really like that one. Think you're doing swell. And that's all you, right? That's not the elf that comes up with the quote of the day?
It's me.
Okay, good.
Yeah, the elf is actually anti-stoicism. So I've been having to fight him on a lot of these quotes.
Oh.
Yeah. He believes that you should let things outside of your control affect your emotions. It's a core tenet of the factoid elf.
It's one of the many flaws of elves I've heard.
Yes.
Yeah.
So we're working on it.
We're working on it, guys. Bear with our elf. Welcome in, everybody. If you guys are just joining us a little bit late, the concurrent is going up. Continue to smash that like button. Let's do this. We kind of had a different flow from time to time. We're going to do this. We're going to go through our economic outlook because there was some stuff that's very important to take a look at today. Then we're going to go into our top story. Oh, you went to my screen a little fast. Yeah. Do our top story talking about Cardano, and then we're going to jump in and do some charts and then end off with some news and some good old Q&A and maybe some more T&A. But big one this morning, guys. If you have not heard about this, I don't know where you've been because I think everybody at this point is talking about it. Even the president himself. Non-farm payroll coming out to 336,000. That means 336,000 new jobs. That's higher, obviously. Last month, there was 227,000, but expectations were between 170 to 150. We more than doubled the expectations. If you average out 150 to 170, you're going to get 160. Guys, let's double that. That's going to be what? That's going to be 320. 320. We were more than 320, up to 336. President Biden, of course, used this as an amazing opportunity to come out and talk about some Bidenomics. I don't know if you saw what he said, T-Shroom. I actually went through, I was reading the transcript of good old President Biden. Said some things that cracked me up a little bit. I'm not going to lie, this cracked me up. Inflation is coming down at the same time. He's talking about how, they're creating more jobs. Economy is doing really well. Inflation coming down at the same time. It's down 60% since last summer. I don't think he knows how inflation works, T-Shroom. But he said core inflation is just 2.2% over the last 3 months, and now we have the lowest inflation of any major economy in the world. The truth is, he's actually kind of right in the last one. But Biden, the problem is, if everyone in the world sucks and you're the best at sucking, it's still not good.
Correct.
We're the least. I guess this is the way to say it. It's like we're the least crappy country economically right now in the world. Doesn't mean we're doing great. Just means everybody else really sucks. That kind of reminds me of what's his name from the former Prime Minister of England, Churchill, when he's like, democracy is the worst form of government except for all others that have ever been tried. I don't know why my mouse is not working. He also started talking about this. Is some other quotes from this meeting his you guys didn't hear. He said, folks, Bidenomics is about investing in America and investing in American workers. Trillions to Ukraine, but we digress. What were some other? He said some other funny things that definitely got me chuckling. When I was able to cut the federal debt by $1.7 trillion over the first 2 to 2.5 years, remember we talked about those 50 corporations that made $40 billion weren't paying a penny in taxes. Well, guess what? We made them pay 30%, 15 in taxes, 15%. Nowhere near, that's a direct quote, by the way. I didn't stutter there. That was how he said it. Nowhere near what they should pay. And guess what? We're able to pay for everything. And we ended up with an actual surplus. Does he know what a surplus is, T-Shroom, do you think?
Probably. I think he knows about a surplus of pudding, and he's not going to be able to eat all the pudding.
Definitely is a fan of a surplus of ice cream. I've said it before, and I'll say it again. We've cut the deficit by over $1 trillion since we've taken office. The laws that I signed will cut another $1 trillion over the next 10 years, and my budget would cut it another $2.5 trillion over 10 years. Great speech. Terrible timing, Biden, as we're getting data that every single day we're literally spending half the total market cap. We're going into more than half the total market cap of Bitcoin in debt extra, which would kill the deficit. We absolutely are losing more money. So I don't really know what poor Joe is talking about, but I'm sure he did a great job reading the script that his writers wrote for him today. Again, someday, Joe, we'll teach you about inflation and about Joe, start watching Investing Bros. You'll learn a thing or two about inflation and about debt and about deficits. You might learn something. Well, guys, today, this was the concern. We were concerned that this would put pressure when we get this job data as high as we got it. This would give potentially Jerome Powell the excuse, the ability to continue to raise rates or keep them higher for longer. Earlier today, we were up before the numbers came out. We were up at 80%. This dropped down to, the lowest I saw was 67%. It is back up to 70% right now, 70.7%. What I'm interested to see, though, have we seen a delay in when we're expecting a rate cut? So right now, we're actually seeing it stay about the same place. Very close, though. 34.9% saying June, we could see the first rate cut versus 34.3%. So about 0.6% difference saying we're going to stay paused in June. And then July is where you get a little more of a certainty at this point that we're going to be seeing a rate cut. Again, I'm telling you guys, the economy is not doing as well as numbers would reflect, but I'm sitting in a place right here where I still think we're going to have some recession scares. I still think that prices of the stock market and crypto are going to be moving to the downside. However, I don't think it's going to happen in a way that's so detrimental that the stock market and crypto crash to new lows. I still think that we're going to see for the first time in history an actual rate cut happen sometime later next year, but it's more because the economy, they don't want the economy to do poorly rather than normally pivots come because the economy has entered into a recession. But we've talked about that before. We'll address that in the future as well. Let's take a look at liquidations today. Not a lot. Well, that's an hour. Sorry. Let's go to 24 hours. 24 hours here. Still not a lot. $24 million were liquidated in in Bitcoin. 13 million of those were short liquidations. 9 million of those, dollars wise, were long liquidations. So some volatility, and you're going to see that. We're going to talk about that in the chart section. We had a very volatile day based off of this information that has come out. We'll cover that more in the chart section. Bitcoin Fear and Greed Index coming in at 50, a little bit higher than it was yesterday when we went down to 48. But thankfully, I was searching Twitter today. I don't know if we're going to bring this up later or not, but I did see the stock market. This is by way of Army Piper retweeting a great post. The stock market is down to 20 and is in extreme fear. Now, I'm not saying it can't get even lower, but that actually should be a part of the reason why something I just said a little second ago, that I don't think that the recession is actually going to be coming, at least in a way that people are going to expect it to come. I don't think it's going to happen. I'm looking at the stock market being in extreme fear. And those of you who've been watching for a while, you know that when you're in extreme fear, that's actually more of a reason to be buying rather than selling. It just is telling us right now there aren't a lot of people buying. There are people more freaking out. They're scared of the recession. And recessions hit hard when nobody sees them coming, when the retail investors do not see them coming. If retail investors are scared right now, which is what this is kind of telling us, that's actually more of a reason why it's not going to be coming anytime soon, in my opinion. Let me know in chat what you guys think. Quick look, though, at CoinMarketCap. Let's go back to my screen here, T-Shroom, and then we're going to jump into Cardano information. Bitcoin sitting at exactly where it was 24 hours ago. 0% difference in price right now. Ethereum slightly down 0.08%. Let's see if there's any big movers, though. Cardano's in the green. It had a little bit more green earlier today, but it's in the green. Tron is down, and to be specific, they're right next to each other, so that R is very important. Tron down 3%. Toncoin up 1.7. Polygon is down 1.6. Let's see anything else. Right there, number 20, Avalanche, AVAX, coming in as the top mover of the top 20, up at 4.24%. Let's take a look at other big gainers, big losers. Avalanche is number 1. Mina coming in second place. Toncoin in third place, but not necessarily two big bullish moves. The bigger move is in the bearish category, and that is Thorchain. Thorchain down 9%. Although I looked at a chart earlier today over on Discover Crypto where Thorchain is actually in an interesting spot that might be in a good low. It's a higher low, but maybe a good spot to acquire some more on another trip to the upside. Maybe we'll do some TNA on that later. I don't know why I keep saying TNA. It's more of a running joke that I don't think anyone knows but you and me, T-Shroom. But that's our CoinMarketCap open. Yeah, you don't even know it. I don't even think I know it, honestly. I don't know why I keep saying it. Some good old TA. We're going to do that here in a little bit. But first, we are going to throw it to our topic of the day, our story. If you love Cardano, I love you. First of all, that's the first thing you need to know. But also, we got some great news coming out of the Cardano camp. We're going to cover some TA after it. But T-Shroom, why should people be so excited about Cardano? What's happened here recently?
Absolutely. Well, there's been a big defense that Hoskinson has done on a video, and those details of that have been documented. But before we get to those details, I want to tell you guys a little bit about Decrypted.tax. It's a tax service that we are partnered with, the Investing Bros. And Ernest was telling us about it. Ernest is the owner and operator of Decrypted.tax. He's a great guy. We had a meeting with him. And look, we're not trying to waste your time, right? You more than likely trade or you invest in crypto if you're listening to the sound of my voice. This is a really good service, right? And they have a free consultation, as you can see here. And then on Decrypted.tax, you can see the different levels that they have. So maybe you've only done 1,000 transactions this year in crypto or trading or whatever it might be. Or you've done 10,000 transactions, or you've had unlimited transactions. They've got solutions for you. Book a free consultation now at Decrypted.tax and tell them that the Investing Bros sent you, or click on the link in our description. That's Decrypted.tax. You'll never have to worry about the stress of tax and crypto ever again, Tim. Charles Hoskinson, Cardano founder, debunks Hydra's alleged scaling issues. So using data from x2utxo.com.
Yeah. Utsko. This one could probably have about 27 different pronunciations, and they'd all be wrong. For all I know, this is pronounced Williams.com.
Yeah, I don't know. But Hoskinson demonstrated how Cardano's transactions are inherently different from many other blockchains. And I got to admit, I learned a little something reading this article. A single transaction can encompass multiple outputs. In one
Mhm.
instance reviewed by Hoskinson, a block contained 384 outputs in just one transaction. So it does a lot. The metric of 1,000 TPS, when taken out of context, can be misleading. 1,000 TPS, that's not very much compared to Solana or HBAR. But if you take it in that context, it can be misleading. For certain applications like video games, tipping systems, this might be relevant. But Cardano's primary operations involve significant NFT drops, DEX transactions, Oracle transactions, JED transactions, and complex smart contracts, and more. Yes, you can achieve high TPS, but it's a metric that doesn't capture the real essence of what
Mm.
Cardano offers. Again, this from Hoskinson, and it goes on. This approach aims to delegate inter
Intricate.
intricate
It's a
intricate
word that you people use it, but then you have to read it and you're like, "What the heck?" Yeah,
mhm.
intricate. Yeah.
And this is specifically talking about Hydra. This approach aims to delegate intricate logic handling of a mainnet onto a different network tailored for batching, voting, and event-driven programming. Hydra's evolution is driven by real-world application needs, focusing on reducing the mainnet's load. So all of this kind of culminates together into what we're going to be talking about a little bit later in the show, which is a comparison of Cardano to TradFi. And
Yeah.
Tim's going to be teeing that up, but we wanted to bring you these details here of Hoskinson trying to debunk the Hydra's alleged scaling issues. So the main takeaway is that it's just built different, right?
Yeah.
And it's a little bit misleading to compare the TPS to TPS. Because Cardano is doing a lot more when it's doing transactions. So, Tim, what do you think of that?
Yeah, no. I don't know. We're probably going to reference this more later because probably people are going to be engaged with in the chat. I did want to shout out Eric Wallen, who gifted 2 different memberships and went to some people that I absolutely love. Crimson Caravan Company is now a member,
Nice.
and so is the other one was to who did you give the other one to? Ada Ace. Oh, an Ada
Oh wow.
Ace. Oh, good. Ada Ace is now going to have a green name. So is Crimson Caravan Company. That also means that they will get to join us for the next month. They're going to be in our silver bro times. So
Ooh.
those will be a lot of fun. We are talking about, because of the new time of the show, we used to do those at 3 o'clock on Tuesdays. We're definitely moving the time. We haven't decided we want to do 1 o'clock. Do we want to do it right after the show and do it at 4 o'clock? We'll keep you guys posted. But shout out to Crimson Caravan Company and Ada Ace. Now, members, thank you so much for your guys' support. And thank you, Eric Wallen, for gifting those. When it comes to Cardano, T-Shroom, there's a lot of stuff that people are still catching up. And I'm going to be honest with you guys. I am not the tech savvy person who, when you hear about the TVLs and you hear about the transactions per second and you hear about all this different stuff, that I use that information to actually do anything in my life. I'm not a crypto enthusiast in the sense of that I'm using the technology to do everything other than the monetary purposes of investing. And I'm starting to dabble in the world of DeFi to, get away from traditional banking systems that absolutely suck. When it comes to Cardano, though, Cardano to me, and I'm going to say this, I don't know how many other people agree with this, T-Shirt. I'm interested in your take. I see a big similarity in Cardano to Apple versus the likes of like Ethereum to Microsoft. Everyone knows back in the heyday when they were creating computers, there's multiple companies, but the 2 big dogs were Apple and Microsoft. Microsoft purposefully from the very beginning went after businesses, or what's another word for that, institutional use. They wanted to get into businesses. They wanted to give all businesses around, they wanted them using computers. They wanted the schools using their computers. They just wanted to build their infrastructure based off of institutional adoption. Whereas Apple and Steve Jobs very much targeted the individual person. They wanted to go after the everyday guy. If you watch commercials still to this day, their marketing campaign, if you pay attention to how they kind of do things with their commercials and advertising, they always want to go after you, the individual. The commercials always focus around one person, what that person is trying to do in life, and then how the Apple device helps them do it and brings them individuality, right? I see a very similar thing happening. Yes, Solana's making a good push right now, and a lot of people love Solana. Yes, we have, Dot is doing a lot of stuff. And yes, there's going to be other layer ones that come out that people want to use for smart contracts. They want to use for NFTs. They want to use for different DeFi protocols that go on. But the communities that probably have the most, or the two coins that have the most traction, still to this day, I'm still going to put them as Ethereum and Cardano. Even if the market cap doesn't look like that, I think in terms of popularity and expectation, you're looking at Ethereum and Cardano as the two front runners for what does the future of crypto look like being integrated into everyone's life. And of course, Ethereum has gone after the institutional adoption. Their layer twos working with a lot of the big name companies across the world. Like everybody, if you know of a company, they're going blockchain, more than likely they're working with Ethereum. Cardano, though, is not. Cardano, though, likes to stay after individuals, namely people within the continent of Africa. They really are going hard after people within the continent of Africa, but they want to build that bank to the bankless type of mentality where the individual has full control, full power. I'm not saying that they don't want to do business with businesses whatsoever or institutions, but their priority is going after the individual person. And just like Apple, again, I'm not saying Microsoft isn't good, but Apple has captivated the hearts of most Americans, most people around the world. Yes, there's that factor that loves Androids and stuff, but the number one phone is the Apple phone. The number one device. If I'm sending you to college, if I'm sending my kid to college, and my kid's asking me for a laptop or a tablet, they're more than often asking for an Apple, iMac, iPad, whatever it is. I see Cardano doing the exact same thing. And right now, guess what's really low right now, T-Shroom, in terms of who's getting involved with crypto? It's the retail investors.
Right.
It's the institutions right now. We're going to talk more about this because this is actually what we're seeing happen on Bitcoin. Institutional manipulation, adoption, integration, that's the only driving factor right now. Retail volume is super low. But when it comes back during the bull market, when it comes back here later on in 2024, early 2025, and individuals start getting ingrained in crypto and they're looking at what ecosystem to be using, I'm not going to be surprised to see a similar thing happen just like Apple, where people actually, as an individual, want to use Cardano. Companies, institutions want to use Ethereum. They're both going to have some amazing bull markets, but Cardano, be careful if you're rooting against it, because I think the stuff that Charles Hoskinson and his team is working on is going to melt some faces here in about a year.
Yep. Yeah,
What do you think
absolutely.
about that comparison, T-Shroom, the Apple and Microsoft to Cardano and Ethereum thought?
I got to be honest with you, Tim. I really like it. I think it's a good comparison because at the end of the day, Ethereum has done a really good job of appealing to. It's not even so much institutions. It's folks who are. It's almost like folks who are handling other people's money. And folks who are. I guess that's the kind of the definition of institution. But I mean, ultimately, I really agree with your analysis there and your comparison. I really like it. I wonder. My mind is like, well, I wonder if there's any kind of other things that we can learn based on that comparison, because it does seem so true. It's like, well, if this is like I wonder if there was a moment when Microsoft was doing really well and Apple wasn't, that then something happened next that we could kind of predict based off of what we're experiencing now in crypto. I don't know. But
I think it's probably a little much to try to like compare price actions of them, but I'm more talking about the love that people fell in love with them. And someone commented, they said around the world, Microsoft's still really popular, and that's probably true. Any place where Apple doesn't want to really advertise very heavily, they're not going to, and then Microsoft might have gathered that. But in the places where there's a lot of advertising, the more individualistic you are, I would almost say like the more artistic, not autistic, artistic you are, you're probably going Apple. I know gamers still like the PC world. I'm not a gamer, so that's not going to be something I can comment on. But as a whole, Apple has done a very good job of captivating individualism and the average retail type person, whereas Microsoft, yes, they still sell goods to the private individual, but their priorities are going after companies and institutions.
Now, Crypto Dave has inserted the statement that is natural for this part of the conversation. And I think this would be good to talk about a little bit. He said, Crypto Dave said, need to see some big names adopt ADA, though, to really propel them into the market. And that's kind of up for debate, I think. We don't know necessarily if that's true. I'm inclined to agree with you, Dave, but I think that there's a chance that no, it doesn't. It doesn't have to be adopted or associated. Now, it's interesting that you make that. Let's continue. Let's play that through the lens of this comparison, right? Apple absolutely has made loads of partnerships with giant institutions, right? I think they released their credit card through J.P. Morgan. Like there's an Apple credit card. Like so,
Mhm.
I think that might be more of like a timeline lens as well, like comparison. You have to also remember the timeline of where Cardano is, and the fact that it's not a one-to-one product by any means of what Apple actually sells. But Apple absolutely did, use a lot of other existing platforms to be able to sell what it had. Whether it be advertising through the Super Bowl or partnering with celebrities like Taylor Swift or something like this. They associated themselves with outside entities. It wasn't like either you're in our castle or you're never going to know or hear about us. They definitely went out and rattled
Yeah.
the fences and told people about what they were doing. So
The other thing I would say, though, even to people who like, listen, there's going to be a space for, crypto already has chains like Chainlink already work on interoperability. This is another thing that Charles actually is working on with Cardano. I was in a room during an interview where he talked about this. We are still years away from this, but there's going to be a moment where all of these platforms communicate with each other, where so it doesn't matter. You're going to see institutions continue to build their framework over in the Ethereum suite. I was about to say Microsoft suite, but Ethereum suite. And then you see individuals set up in Cardano, and then that communicates. In the same way, just because you have a PC and I have an Apple, we can still email and talk to each other and send files via. I know there's certain things that sometimes struggle like that, but our computers can still talk to each other. At one point, they struggled, but now they can. The same thing's going to happen in crypto, guys. If you don't think that all these different chains are going to find a way to still communicate and work together, they absolutely will. Not very functioning. It's not functioning very well right now, but blockchain technology is still so new and young. There's a long way to go for its development, but we're gonna close it off because we got to get into some TA.
let's do it.
But just believe it. Like I do believe Cardano is the future of the more average retail investor's use case in crypto, whereas Ethereum might be able to keep the dominance over on the institutional side. But who knows? With the level of decentralization, speed, with the fees that come in, Ethereum still has a lot of fees. I wouldn't even be surprised to see Cardano take across the individual platform and then go for institutions later because of the speed and also the cost effectiveness and the decentralization of it. That's a powerful thing, guys. Don't forget that. That's what makes crypto special in the first place, is that you can have it be decentralized. There's a long way to go before all the cookies crumble, but Cardano is sitting in a very good spot to me. T-Shroom, I'm going to go into charts, but before we do that, as we always do, we have to get our trivia question of the day. The elf spends all day and all night. He doesn't sleep. He just thinks about ways to stump me and our viewers. What's his way today?
All right. Well, here we are, Tim, and we're ready to get into the factoid. What coin gives the holder access to an exclusive NFT ecosystem? Is it ApeCoin, B, Dogecoin, C, Ethereum, or D, Litecoin?
The way you ended that Litecoin one is like almost like I was waiting for another answer. What coin gives the holder access to an exclusive NFT ecosystem? I want to say ApeCoin.
You want to say ApeCoin. Okay.
Exclusive NFT ecosystem. Well, it's not going to be Litecoin. It's not going to be Dogecoin. It's going to be ApeCoin. It's going to be A. I don't even think I need to work this hard at this one. I think it's just A. I wanted to make sure I wasn't tricking myself at all.
You're going with your gut?
Yeah. And
All
we
right.
need to still, is it, we're going to wait for the answer? This isn't so obvious and easy that we're just going to rock with it now?
Well, Tim, I don't know that it's going to be so obvious and easy to everyone, although the chat does seem to be pretty unified around what you have determined to be the answer.
Crypto Dave, take your time, Tim. Don't ape into this one too fast.
That's pretty good.
That's pretty good. You're good. I like you, Crypto Dave. I like you. All right, let's do it. Let's go over and do some T&A. Guys, we're going to start off with Cardano. Now, again, we've just finished a conversation where we've been very bullish, and I've told you guys how bullish I am on Cardano. That doesn't mean it translates into the short-term action on the charts. This could get bullish. You guys can see here Cardano, and you go back to the little bit of a dip we had in March 10th. Then you went to this rally. We came up here in April. We hit about 46 cents. This one we'd shifted for the first time in the bear market. We finally started setting higher highs, higher lows. But of course, Cardano has fallen back into a bearish trend here. Well, this is a bullish formation, but it just might not be finished yet. And there's actually two different things I'm looking at here. Both would probably heavily suggest that price should be going down for Cardano. One of them, I mean, there's always a way you can bounce back up. One of them saying you could go down even further. The other is a very bullish formation. If you're looking at both of the blue lines, this is a falling wedge pattern. Now, if we could break through here right now, I don't think we're going to. Here, even on the daily chart, we have had our bearish flash here. You guys know we love and use Chart Prime for all of our TA, which, by the way, if you guys are looking for a good indicator to help you trade, help you invest, make sure you know when you're buying is a good buy spot, you're selling is a good sell spot. Chart Prime is the one for you. Check out the link down below. But it is flashing overbought on us. Red reversal triangle. RSI is overextended. Our money flow is starting. It's hard to see. I'll have to full screen it. Money flow is technically still moving up, but the oscillator is keeling over, and you're going to see starting a little rounding of that money flow. So it does look like we're coming to a stopping point, and that makes sense because when we go and take a look at Bitcoin here in a little bit, I think we're also close to a reversal place where Bitcoin's going to keel over. But the expectation here, guys, is there's two things we could see. We could see a breakthrough right here, in which case maybe we're looking at an early breakout and a price move to the upside. Realistically, and let me go ahead and move down and take my oscillators down because we've looked at them here on the daily chart. Realistically, guys, I do think I'm going to continue to say I believe an 18-cent prediction for Cardano is still in the cards. I think there's a good chance we reject here and start to make a move back down. And in this formation, this falling wedge, we come down, hit our 18-cent range, and then move to the upside. This is a bullish formation, but it's a very good one long-term for long-term bullish price action. Now, you might be asking, Tim, you said there was two different ones. The other one is a lot more bearish, and I don't think it's going to play out to full fruition. But if you were to go back here, let me take off my marker. I'm learning from mistakes I've made in previous shows. If you go back here to January, this is December, January, where we originally had hit the bear market bottom. For a lot of projects out there, this is the bottom of the bear market. For Cardano, unfortunately, it is not. But we started a process where we've now hit this level once, twice. We actually went a little lower than it in that wick, and now 3-4 more times. This, guys, is a flat bottom, but we still had that same falling resistance level. This is what we would call a descending triangle, and usually is bearish. Now, there's formations where you see this happen. It plays out to its fullest. In this case, what you'd be looking for is the highest point you get here down to the originator, and then you would move this over, and you'd say, all right, could we expect a price to break this far down? This, I'm sure there's someone out there who thinks Cardano is going to get here, but this would give us a 2.1 cent Cardano. Guys, I don't see that happening. I do see us losing that red level and moving to the downside. Again, 18 cents. Worst case scenario, I think more like 14 cents. But I do see us losing that here coming very, very soon. But more realistically, I think this falling wedge is the one you're looking at. I do think we're going to be making one more move towards the bottom blue line here towards 18 cents, maybe a little bit lower, but hitting my yellow T-box that has been marked here now for a very long time due to some things we've seen in the past here on Cardano. Not only are these former levels of resistance that really never got their due diligence to come back and retest it, if you just use a simple Fibonacci extension level right here, let me go ahead and show that to you right now. If you use Fibonacci extension coming down to this original low and then move over to our breakout, you guys will see the 1.236, a very common level on Fibonacci extension when you lose the double bottom. That marks us right here at about that 18-cent range, and then the 1.5 a lot closer to that 14-cent range. I think technically this is supposed to move a little to the downside. You're also going to see on Cardano when looking at the macro TA, if you were to go back and look at the volume for a lot of Cardano price, you're also going to see significant volume being in that area. Let's just go ahead and look at its entire history. Come on now. There we go. Sometimes my mouse messes up here just a little bit. You're going to see when we get to this range, right there, valley low right here, 18 cents. Next value area low right there at that 13.5, 14 cent range, which is going to put us right in that little spot. I don't see us getting all the way down to 8 cents. That's where some people are calling due to this peak. I see this section be the much more realistic bearish price action for Cardano. And of course, this would correspond if we see Bitcoin do what I think Bitcoin is going to do, and that would be make a move in the head and shoulders pattern, a move down here towards $20,000. Now, I did talk about this yesterday here a little bit, that there is something that I'm a little suspicious of, and that being if the manipulators are going to keep manipulating and everyone starts talking about that CME gap down at 19.9, What if price only makes it down here to 21.5 at the golden pocket? This would be a repeat of history. And you guys know I like to compare what we're currently doing back to the bear market of 2019, in which case we started with our low for the bear market, went up, had a false bull market rally, and came back down to where? Golden pocket. COVID doesn't count, guys. Black Swan event. Shouldn't count that when you're doing the TA or expect it to be repeated. But the rest of this is pretty normal for 4-year cycles. A repeat and a fall back down to golden pocket could make a whole heck of a lot of sense. Again, it also makes sense to fall back and fill up our CME gap at 20,000 or 19,900. But I'm kind of sitting here suspecting there's an outside chance 21.5 could be a stopping point that manipulators and whales like to use for some buying when retail investment doesn't want to touch it with a 10-foot pole. Price goes to the upside. But if this happens, guys, we're talking about bigger falls happening on Ethereum, Cardano, XRP, Matic, the rest of them because of this chart right here. Bitcoin dominance, I do think during a fall will go ahead and move to the upside. By the way, let's check out on Bitcoin dominance. It is sitting at a moment where it's getting some bearish calls here saying that it should reverse to the downside. It absolutely could. We could see it move to the downside, but I do think long term, when we go out to the weekly chart, we're seeing a lot more of a move to the upside happening after bouncing here at our mid-level, historically even during this last phase before the real bull market during a fall. This is when you see explosive movements to the upside on Bitcoin dominance. Keeping my eye out for that 60% mark. I've been talking about that for a while. We'll have to wait and see. But let's talk about Bitcoin a little bit more, though, because I'm still kind of referencing the Bitcoin chart in the realm of Cardano. Let's just talk about Bitcoin. We talked about it a little bit before, guys. We suspected that the price should drop, and originally it did. This morning, we got some good volatility here on the hourly chart. You guys will see it's been pretty volatile, even though the oscillators haven't moved much. But initially, when that job report came out, 336,000 new jobs were created. The market dipped, big red candle, but then it started to erase all of that. And right now, we're kind of working back towards the high we had here a couple of days ago, around 28,133. My dilemma, though, with all of this continues to be, as I move out these oscillators, there's not necessarily an overwhelming amount of volume. We're seeing some volume coming here in the more recent candles here on the 4-hour chart. But I go out to daily chart. There's actually an article I was reading, and this kind of specifies this a little more. But you guys can see the volume has just been tapering off. This blue line is showing you kind of the average amount of volume. It's continuing to drop. What does this communicate to me? Less and less people are really trying to actually get in and buy and sell their Bitcoin. Most people are just sitting and holding. What does that mean? This means most of the movement's actually probably happening from from institutional new adoption people who are coming in deciding, hey, let's try to get the price to go exactly where we want it to go so we can gather supply. But there's just not a lot of volume at this level. There is going to be an explosive move either to the upside or the downside. This is what always happens. I were to pull up Bollinger Bands. We're getting constricted here on the Bollinger Bands, and these always come right before big breakouts. While we're technically sliding a little bit to the upside, I'm not saying this is always, but you're going to notice more often than not, whichever way you kind of are trending, that usually kind of reverses and goes in the opposite direction. Didn't happen right here. We were trending downwards and had our big move to the downside. But many other times when you go back in the history of Bollinger Bands and you look at contraction of the Bollinger Bands, if it's starting to trend in one direction, we see a reversal. It explodes, moves to the upside. I'm kind of sitting here still anticipating, guys. I still think that we're going to see a big move coming, and that move is going to be downwards, down below 25,000. The question is 21.5, is that the bottom? Or do we keep moving down towards 20,000? Of course, this still stands. Even though it did not happen this morning, guys, you have to remember that Jerome Powell is going to be taking the stage here in about 3 weeks. And it's not even if he pauses or raises rates this next time. Right now, we're still expecting him to go ahead and pause rates. The question is going to be, does he talk about the jobs in a way that says, you know what? Jobs are still doing well. The economy is still doing well. This gives me an excuse because the inflation is not where I want it to be to continue to raise rates, maybe one or two more. He's hinted at that possibility, but wants to make sure he doesn't crush the economy. 363,000 new jobs, guys. That means the economy is on paper doing very, very well. That gives him a lot of wiggle room. Not good for Bitcoin, not good for the charts. And again, we're seeing these things develop. Not liking the charts if I'm a bull right now. I don't like how we're not moving explosively to the upside. You even have these stories like XRP. XRP, guess what? The last couple of days have been super bullish. First, we get the thought that the case, what the appeal from the SEC was thrown out. Now we're hearing that it looks like the entire case, every part of it with XRP and with Ripple, is going to be completely done away with. SEC is going to concede. They're going to wave the white flag. Why is XRP not booming to the upside? Why is it not exploding? Why are we not super excited as we're seeing probably even all this mean the win is coming for a Bitcoin spot ETF? Why is the price and the volume not exploding with people's excitement? Because it's not time to move to the upside. The retail is not confident. You're going to see people say they're confident, but people are not buying Bitcoin, XRP, Cardano, Ethereum. They're not buying in bulk right now. Why? Because it's not the right time and people know it. Anytime they start buying and the volume increases, you're going to see those longs get liquidated by the experienced traders who are like killer whales just waiting for any heartbeat to pounce on and kill. That's what they're going to do. They're going to move the price back to the downside. So continue to be patient, continue to watch the charts, continue to work through the news. It's going to happen. As we move away, Eric Wallen says recession, Tim. Yeah, we talked about this earlier, Eric. I think right now there's a FUD out there. There's a fear, uncertainty, and doubt. Guys, watch out for the recession. That's why people aren't buying. People are so scared of the recession. It's the boogeyman. The boogeyman is going to continue to keep prices from getting back up above this 32,000. They're going to make people feel like, oh man, there's bullish price moving slightly to the upside, but they're not going to let it happen explosively. And then that fear is going to get a little more real. People are going to freak out. The prices are going to dip, and that's going to give these institutions like BlackRock, Fidelity, and others the excuse they need to get the lower prices so they can buy more supply. And then they're going to pump the price, and everything's going to be good. We're going into this next year, which is an election year. Biden and the Democrats who want to continue to keep power are going to absolutely want to make you feel like the economy is doing very, very, very well. That will be the reason why the price just boosts up into the right. And guess what, guys? 4-year cycle is going to come right in time. The election will happen. We'll have a new president. They won't want to crash the stock market the day after the president's there, but give it a couple of months. They'll start bringing the fear. Recession will actually become real. We'll see a dip in price and the bear market start late 2025, early 2026. Right on cue. That's kind of what I'm seeing here, T-Shroom, and it's continuing to back up the charts, the news, everything else. Boom. We're going to do more TA later when people ask about it, but it's 3:42. I don't know how much more we have because we do have a couple of stories to talk about. Mm-hmm. But first, I want to hear the answer to the question. I'm pretty sure I was right with the answer being A, ApeCoin. But what is the Trivia Elf doing? Did he trick me today?
The answer to the question is Yapecoin.
Yeah. Not surprised. Didn't get me today, Elf. Didn't get me today. Keep swinging those legs on the top of T-Shroom's box, but you didn't get me.
Yep, not today. Not today, Elf. Well, I mean, we usually give a little bit of synopsis of what the answer to the question is, so I'll do that for ApeCoin. Yeah. It's currently almost a stable coin, which is kind of cool. And let's see, market cap $400 billion. So 400 million. Just kidding.
Yeah, it's not billion. Yeah.
So
that would make it easily number 2 on CoinMarketCap. Yeah.
And Tim, I just wanted to kind of give my little 2 cents on your TA today, because your main point is it's not time. And
it's not time.
This is, again, I know I've shown this on a lot of shows now, but this is every indication that it's not time. This is what experienced traders look at as kind of a clock, right? It's the halving cycle, right? And it's the stock to flow. Right. And we're in blue. Right. So that's like this is the time that you do want to start loading up. Right. But not loading up with the thought that now we're going to go higher. It's loading up with the thought that this is the precursor to that phase of it's time to go higher. Right. If that makes sense. So with the positive awareness that it could go lower. So you're not deploying all your dry powder, but you are buying here at these levels, because these are lower levels. Not financial advice, and you should only ever invest what you can afford to lose. But Tim, there was some breaking news that we can get to. Let's do that now. It's actually a clip from your boy Joe. I don't know if it's your boy, but
Joseph Rogan.
Joseph Rogan. Let's go ahead and take a listen.
I mean, the real fascinating crypto is Bitcoin. To me, I mean, that's the one that I think has the most likely possibility of becoming a universal viable currency. And it's it's limited in the amount that there can be. It's people mine it with their own computer. It's like that to me is very fascinating, and I love the fact that it's been implemented, and that at least some like I've had Andreas Antonopoulos on the podcast, and when he talks about it, he's living it. He's spending all of his money. Everything he gets paid is in Bitcoin. He pays his rent in Bitcoin. Everything he does is in Bitcoin.
So there you go. That was 19 minutes ago. It's the breaking news on Watcher.guru.
Who's the guest he has? Does it say who the guest is?
I don't know. No.
Yeah, what I will say is great. I mean, this is going to now flood to a lot of people. I like Joe Rogan. I like Joseph Rogan. He definitely says things and has opinions that I disagree with, but I like his approach to truth and knowledge, and he's very open-minded for the most part. That was that was said very much like a person who's starting to see the light, but is very far from it. Those of us who have been in crypto a while, I mean, let me know in chat. Tell me if you agree with Joe Rogan, but I'm in the camp. I used to be here about 2 years ago, when I first got in, I thought that Bitcoin really was the coin that we could look at as potentially a currency to replace fiat. I've come to the opinion, it can't, it just can't. There's not enough of it. And the fact that it won't ever go above 21 million, you actually need a coin to be able to continue to create new stuff for it to be utilized. Because here's the other thing. We also want Bitcoin's price to continue to move up into the right. But if we're using it every single day on goods, right? You don't want money that one day is worth this and the next day is worth a significant amount more or less, right? You want your currency to be, for the most part, stable. We don't want Bitcoin to get stable, not anytime soon, because Bitcoin is nowhere near what it will be valued at in the future. I want it to be a commodity like gold, where every single year it's just getting more and more and more valuable and more rare, and it keeps going up, 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 because it's my store of value for long term. It teaches me to continue to be patient, not spend it, hold on to it, because every day I hold it, it just gets more and more valuable. I'm not saying I'm voting for Dogecoin, but Dogecoin is something I don't think anyone has an emotional attachment to, where it could actually get to a place where it stabilizes its value. It isn't day in and day out getting volatile, up and down, up. It's not like one day, like you don't want one day a gallon of milk to cost 5 Dogecoin, the next day 10 Dogecoin, and the next day 2 Dogecoin, and then the next day 15. You don't want that. You want to go every single day, and it's like, it's 5 Dogecoin, 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 or something else. Any currency that's going to be utilized as a normal currency on a day-to-day basis, don't be holding it long-term thinking the longer you hold it, the more money you have. It needs to be stable. It needs to stay the same. Price needs to stay consistent. We haven't had that in a long time due to the inflation of fiat currency, but we need to get back to that place where the price of milk, the average price of a home, the price of gasoline is the same price today that it is a year from now, that it is 10 years from now, that it is 30 years from now, so we actually can budget and be responsible with our money. And then Bitcoin and other commodities, they're constantly going up in value, and people are incentivized to save money in those options so they can continue to build wealth for themselves and their future generations. Bitcoin should not be the world currency.
It's true. And if you're watching and listening and you've never tuned in before to the Investing Bros, be sure to like and subscribe. We are 84 concurrent viewers right now, so thank you guys so much for tuning in, for clicking on our thumbnail and giving us a chance to help inform what this whole crypto thing is all about. Well, our next story, I want to give you guys a little bit of context on, because we don't talk about TradFi very much, or at least TradFi stocks too often. We were for a while doing our market open, but guys, this is the NASDAQ going back to, this is 2022 right here, the end of it. So I'm sorry, the beginning of it. So this is 2022. And then 2023 starts right here. So you can kind of see the NASDAQ has had a good year in 2023 after a sell-off in 22. Specifically, I want to now compare that to Apple, and it really doesn't look too different, other than the fact that it has made a much higher high, right, than back here. So that was about a 10, call it a 10%. It's not, a little under that, but call it a 10% gain on its previous high. And this is an all-time high here, guys. This is where Apple became $3 trillion, the largest the largest corporation ever that has ever received, and it became bigger than like Germany and like, anyway. So it's big, right? And it's also down right now. So from those highs, right now, Apple is down 10%, and it wicked down as low as 15.2. Well, if you've ever read the Rich Dad Poor Dad book or the Cash Flow Quadrant book or any of his books, then Robert Kiyosaki will be a name that you're familiar with. Rich Dad Poor Dad author Robert Kiyosaki says, time to buy Apple if stock drops below this level. We're going to get to that level in a second. I'll go show you in the charts, and then we're going to get Tim's take on it. Someone who doesn't really, I don't think you own any stocks, right, Tim? Zero stocks? That's wild, man.
I think that I think technically my grandmother left me some, but like my parents are still custodian, which I probably should look into. But
yeah, well, you're not old enough yet
to be
to make your own financial decisions.
You're right. Yeah.
Yeah. Maybe once you're 60.
I don't even know what I'm doing when it comes to investing.
All right. So Tim Cook dumps his shares of Apple. KeyBank downgrades Apple. But he says, I still love Apple, said Kiyosaki in a post on X, formerly Twitter. The Japanese-American businessman comments, whoa, that's not what we wanted. Did all the highlights go away? Oh, no.
What a bummer.
What is going on here? Something has oh, it signed me out. Okay, maybe if I sign back in. Wait. Okay. Sorry, guys. This is a little technical difficulty. Yay.
Wouldn't be a bro show without it.
The Japanese-American businessman comments came close to the heels of a slew of Apple executives selling shares, but the disposal was according to a prearranged trading plan. Cook alone sold 511,000 shares worth about $87.8 million. His first sale in a little over 2 years, but it was all planned sales. The other thing to note is that China has had a recent clampdown on banning iPhones from government offices, also posing a risk to the uptake of devices in one of Apple's key markets. Well, they're also targeting India too, which is mentioned, which is a bigger market now technically. But Kiyosaki said maybe it's time to buy Apple if shares drop below $150. So that would put Apple way down here. It would be quite a bit more than a 10% move to the downside. 150 would represent a 24, call it 25% correction from the all-time high, and a 15% movement from where it is now. That's where Kiyosaki likes to buy it, right there. So Tim, throwing it over to you, what is this? What has this got you thinking?
No, I mean, so listen, we started off talking about comparing Cardano to Apple, and I still think long-term Apple is going to continue to move up to the right. I don't think the company is going to have anything bad happen to it. I'm seeing people comment in chat, which I kind of agree with. I don't think this is a great turn. Like if you want to get into Apple long term, and you're going to hold for a long time, get in. I still think you're going to have increase on your investment. But it's not the greatest time right now, and I absolutely could see the price falling a little further, T-Shroom. Why? You mentioned it there in the article. They're losing the China market. That's a large market. That's a lot of people that could be buying a phone that China's kind of shutting that down. Eric Wallen mentioned in chat, I don't have a new iPhone. I don't even think I had the one before that. I think I have one from like 2 or 3 years ago. But all the reports are kind of saying the new iPhone is not that much better at all. It's kind of the same thing as the previous version. So the Apple innovation didn't necessarily take a new step forward. So is there going to be a massive boom in Apple? I don't think so. Now I think Kiyosaki's right that as you start to look at certain levels, people need to understand that stocks and what the company is doing don't always have perfect correlations. A company can be working very, very hard and about to come up with a big deal, but price is doing something very small, or vice versa. They're doing a lot, and yet the price isn't really moving much at all. You're always trying to assess, is this a project that is overbought or oversold? I want to purchase when it's overbought or oversold. I want to purchase when it's oversold. I want to sell when it's overbought, because the price is never going to perfectly reflect the exact value of the company. The question is, are you getting a good deal or a bad deal when you buy or when you sell? When it comes to Apple, I'm going to kind of go ahead and deflect to the weekly chart, T-Shroom. If you go to my screen, I want to see more of a buy signal happen on the weekly chart. I want to see the oscillator give me some sort of signal down here, a Christmas tree ornament. Give me a bullish divergence. We're getting green buy from the MVP oscillator, but nowhere near as high as the last couple of good buys. You can even see, the kind of level we're at right now. It's comparatively to this one right here. It's not necessarily the greatest buy signal. I guess it continued to move to the upside, but I like these ones a lot better. I like the explosive movements that come. I kind of want to wait to see the weekly chart tell me Apple is oversold. Go ahead and go buy. That's not what I'm seeing right now. Money flow is coming to the downside here on the weekly chart. Yes, we just got an engulfing candle and MVP oscillator, but other than that, I still think we have room to the downside. I'm going to pull this up. We have more room to about that 150 mark that Kiyosaki discussed for our weekly dynamic reactor. You could get even lower that towards 137, get back into this green band, maybe get a reversal signal. If I were to take this down, let me even take a look here. Fibonacci, not that I think that we need to repeat 124 that we had back in January, but let's take a look at what Fibonacci would say. Maybe you're looking, maybe I want to make a push down here. Okay, look at that golden pocket coming in at 152. So, we give Robert Kiyosaki a hard time from time to time. He might have made a good call. I think that 150 is an interesting spot to be looking to acquire more Apple if you are looking to add it to your bag. I could easily see that big of a fall. What would that be right now? That would be about a fall of 13%. I could see a 13% fall getting us in the right spot where we need to be with these oscillators to give me a very good buy signal. You can see, even on the weekly chart, you can see. Let's go to the daily chart, just make it clear, though. We're in a bear trend at the moment. We are setting lower highs, lower lows on Apple. This only peak came in to fill a gap that we had created. I think that price still is moving to the downside. Would not be surprised, especially with more recent bad news from Apple, to get a good little tumble, 13% over the next little bit. And maybe 150, 152 is a good little spot to acquire more. Again, I probably won't. I'm saving my dry powder for crypto because to me, this is the perfect time to be acquiring more crypto. But if you're too risky right now and you want some more sure things and you do see $152 Apple, maybe that's a more conservative, safe value for your money to move up to the right and not risk it too much.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I think that's a pretty good analysis. And I have foregone purchasing Apple, even though it's had some pretty attractive dips. I did buy it and then sell it. Some might call that a trade. For a little while, but the thing is about Apple is I agree with a lot of what I'm seeing in the chat. Is just they're not really on any of these like hot narratives that people are paying attention to. The only one is the augmented reality, like the VR goggles that they have. But there's been a lot of like mixed messaging around whether or not they've been released and why are they so expensive. But the reality is, with Apple is that they're not going away. I think they're kind of hibernating. I think that's kind of the phase that Apple's in right now. They're just releasing, incremental improvements. Although the M1 and the M2 chips have been revolutionary on the computing side, but people underappreciate that. That has been they've been able to no longer rely on Intel's chips for their processors and their laptops. They create their own. But this is something that we bring up every once in a while. It's kind of like Bitcoin, or it's kind of like coin market cap, but this is just companies market cap. And one thing I wanted to point out here that maybe is a little off topic, but just kind of going through here. So you have Apple is the biggest one, and it is just under $3 trillion here. They've got a lot of cash, guys. They've got a lot of cash, and other than maybe a giant liquidity event that could make all that cash worthless, this gives them a lot of power. Because if let's say AI or let's say robotics, right? Robotics is one that it has a lot of potential, but it hasn't made a giant splash in media quite yet like ChatGPT has. Let's say there's some kind of robotics thing. Apple could be the one that pivot to that and just deploy a ton of cash. So don't count out the top dog for an investment. I personally haven't bought into it, but that's because I have an outsized position in Microsoft, and I'm also currently DCAing these names here: Alphabet and Amazon. And Tesla as well. So
T-shirt, we got 2 minutes. We got to kind of wrap this up, but we got a super chat from Elliot Locke, and this is definitely directed towards you quickly. Where are we at with metals, and where are we headed? Thank you for that super chat, Elliot Locke. What are your thoughts, T-shirt?
Well, let's take a quick look just at the charts. We don't have a ton of time, unfortunately, but taking a look here at gold, it's not something I've been looking at all. But looks like gold's taken a tumble here on the weekly chart. The last two candlesticks and the current candlestick are not very, not instilling much confidence. Although you buy low, but here on the weekly you can see it's exiting the equilibrium phase that Chart Prime provides there, and it's also outside of the limit of the bottom Bollinger Band. So there's a sell off here in gold, and I think that might have to do with the bond markets. I'm not exactly sure, but at the same time, let's take a look at silver. Wow, steel's up quite a bit. I know that's not probably what you were asking about, though. So let's keep our eyes fixed here to the precious metals. So silver actually doing something pretty similar to gold. Almost looks identical in terms of the candlesticks. A pretty big candlestick breaking to the low end of this channel here, this trading channel that it was in, and then a candlestick that go ahead and breaks through that and tests lower down to this trend assistant. So I'd say overall, I'm not quite a buyer of the metals yet. I think that they could probably come down lower. But I'm also just not a buyer of metals. Like, I think that the thesis is too close to Bitcoin, that I would rather have something like Bitcoin than metals. But look, it's actually, I would rather buy like physical metals and have like a couple of gold coins and maybe some silver bars, rather than trying to buy like a gold ETF or a mining company or something like that. But I don't think it's bad. I still think that there's tons of value in the precious metals thesis. I just think, hey, if I'm going to invest into that thesis, it's too similar to Bitcoin for me to not just allocate to Bitcoin.
Makes sense. Well, it was a shorter Q&A today because we had a lot more to talk about than we thought. But guess what, guys? It's the end of the show. And that's sad. That's sad. It's Friday, but that means tomorrow morning is Saturday, we have an 11 a.m. show. And you know what? This is what we're going to start doing. We will probably have a story or two with some basic, but I think T-Shroom, the new Saturday flow is going to be, no matter where we are, at 11:30, the rest of the show is going to be Q&A. If they want to do TNA, we'll do TNA. If they want to talk stories, if they want to talk football, if they want to talk whatever they want to talk about, Saturdays are your guys' show. So that does wrap out our weekly content. Thank you to every single one of you. We got concurrent above 90 today, almost pushing at 100. You guys know I told you the next time we get to 100 concurrent, I'm going to gift 5 memberships.
On a Friday.
We're almost there, but smash the like button on your way out. Come join us tomorrow morning, 11 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. We will have a Saturday show. It's always great fun to do those. And, as we wrap it out today, let's continue just throwing it back to T-Shroom's quote of the day today from Marcus Aurelius. What was the exact quote? I don't want to misquote old Marcus because he's had a lot happen to him in life. So, he doesn't need
I am going to have to open a lot of tabs that I've closed. Here it is.
It's fine. Oh, here you go. All right.
Stand by.
It was a great one. That's what I wanted.
How much more grievous are the consequences of anger than the causes of it?
Yeah. And here's the thing, as we were kind of repeating it, Army Piper, I see your super chat. I'm going to call you after we are done here in just a little bit. We will talk. Maybe we'll have Piper on the show tomorrow. Here's the thing, guys. The temptation to respond in anger is great. Mm-hmm. And a lot of times in your brain can be justified and it can mean a lot to you. And you absolutely think that it's the right thing to do. But I don't know if you guys ever heard this quote about unforgiveness. Not forgiving somebody is like pouring a cup of poison and then drinking it yourself, thinking that the person sitting across from you will die. Of course, that sounds silly, but that's what happens when you live in a life of anger and you refuse to let go and to forgive and move on. You're troubling yourself, not the person who hurt you. And if you want to live a lifestyle of eye for an eye, tooth for a tooth, be my guest. But guess what? Rarely does the person who first offended you feel that way when you go back at them. They now think they have a score to settle and they need to come back at you. But in reality, the person who says, you know what, this isn't worth it, I'm going to make peace rather than retaliation. I'm going to forgive and I'm going to move forward with my life. That's the person who lives the greater, more fulfilled life. I'm not saying just because people hurt you, you need to keep them in your life. Listen, there's such a thing as forgiving, but moving away. Do not let a toxic hurtful, harmful person stay in your life. But forgiveness is not for them. Forgiveness is for you. And it makes you a better person. And it makes every single person that interacts with you a better person. So today, think on that. Think on the words of Marcus Aurelius and choose peace and choose forgiveness. Guys, that's all we have for you in this week. But once again, we'll see you tomorrow morning for the Investing Bros Saturday special edition. You guys have a great day.
Trying to make paper, turn that better to cake. Money like Lego, connect the dots that bank. We are investing bros. We are investing bros. Army pipe, lethal on trade. Entries and exits, worthy of praise. Tim, the professor, the TA. Shout it out loud on the PA. T-Shrooms news, got your word. Doing better than what he deserves. Beamer, leave no evidence. Soon fly coop with his dividend. Trying to make paper, turn that better to cake. Money like Lego, connect the dots that bank. We are investing bros. We are investing bros.